Nothing wrong with the prize money in racing. We're going out to Rosehill now for the Tancred Stakes. $500,000 worth, Tappy.
Sure is, Ian, and this race has gathered popularity and momentum in recent years. It's named after a great old bloke and a man who made an amazing contribution to racing in Sydney, the late Harry Tancred. He was an original appointee to the STC board. He served as vice chairman and chairman of the STC for many, many years. Ray Hadley, the late Harry Tancred, was a great contributor to racing in this city.
Certainly the case, John, and a race worthy of carrying his name. Late Show, 25 to 1 on the tote. A bit like the Kiwi horse, 14 to 1, but it's shorter than that in the ring by about 5 points. Foxhill, 15 to 1. Astralin at 80s. Lack of Reason, 50s. The Vagrant, 100 to 1. Samasan at 50s. Playful Princess, 66. Dwanet Girl is 100 to 1. Tristark, 4 to 1, the Derby and Caulfield Cup winner. Al Sophia, 30 to 1. Tristram Rose, 80s. Now Bone Crusher, the Kiwi, 11 to 4. Rant and Rave at 6 to 1. Handy Proverb, the tote favourite at 5 to 2, but much better than that in the ring. Go down to the bottom one, Dolcezza at 33 to 1. John, just further to the news we had following the Golden Slipper about an altercation in the jockey's room. It's been confirmed that those two riders, in fact, approached each other, shaped up, but were pulled apart by attendants. There were no blows landed, and in fact, the AJ and STC stewards are still having that inquiry into that altercation between two leading jockeys. They're both on the premiership table, and we'll have more about it in the 9 News tonight for sure.
That's the type of inquiry that's likely to continue into next week. Now, Kenny Callender here today, of course, fielding with the big crowd at Rosehill. He wasn't all that keen on the chances of bounding away, apparently, in the Golden Slipper a little earlier. I wonder what he thinks about the Tancred Stakes. Let's find out. Ken.
Well, the Tancred Stakes is the weight for age championship of Australia, and they tell me that Bone Crusher is the best thing to come out of New Zealand since Balmerino. And one chap this morning told me he was better than Balmerino. When I look at the form, he is a pretty good horse, but he hasn't run for 4 weeks. He only arrived here by plane this week, and he's got to run 2,400 metres. I'm going to have a couple of long columns against Bone Crusher, and if you want to back him, you head straight for me. He'll be short odds, but I'm prepared to take him on. The horse I like in the race isn't the local star Handy Proverb. I thought his barrier might beat him. I like Rant and Rave. Last week, I think all his jockey was doing was worrying about Mick Dittman on Easter. And all Mick Dittman was doing was worrying about Rant and Rave. Easter collapsed coming to the turn, and Rant and Rave ran home strongly to just get beaten for second. He finished in 3rd spot. Today, he's got a good box. I think he'll be near the lead all the way, and I reckon he'll nearly get the cash.
Good on you, Ken. Great to see that smiling face once again on Wide World of Sports, and he certainly lost none of that famous exuberance or confidence. Now, moving up on the outside of the field here is Tristram Rose, and they're about set and ready to run a big field of 16 in the Bowater Scott Tancred Stakes for 1986. $500,000 in prize money staring them in the face. Starter moves over, a run of 400 to the winning post, and then one complete circuit of the track. 3-year-olds very strongly represented. Playful Princess a little fidgety, but the gates open and they're off in the Tancred. Rant and Rave, the West Aussie, is about the first out. The filly Dolcezza began well, and so did Tristark and the Vagrant and Late Show. Handy Proverb is trapped out deep in the early part, and even wider Tristram Rose and Playful Princess racing down to the judge on the first occasion, and the Vagrant took up the running. The Vagrant led over Dolcezza, Tristark, Late Show, Tristram Rose 3 deep as they greet the judge the first time, and then Al Sophia, Playful Princess, Rant and Rave easing back to be midfield. Handy Proverb 3 and 4 deep going out of the straight, and then a bit like her. Further back came Lack of Reason, followed by Bone Crusher, Dwanet's Girl, Astralin, Foxhill back at the tail of the field, and Samazan's about 3rd last now as they start the run over the crossing at the 1800 mark, and the Vagrant in front by a length and a half to Tristark. Dolcezza 3rd. Late Show is close. Handy on the rails about 5th. Al Sophia. Tristram Rose can't get on the track. Between runners, Playful Princess on the fence. Rant and Rave. Handy Proverb pulling hard about midfield, followed by a bit like a 3 wide Lack of Reason. Then Dwanet's Girl and Bone Crusher, followed by Samazan and Astralin, and Foxhill dropped out to be last as they wheeled their way into the back straight. 1300 left to go, and the leader is the Vagrant, a half length on Tristram Rose, who's had a hard run. Dolcezza 3rd, Tristark 4th on the outside at the 1200 mark. Further back then is Al Sophia. Handy Proverb covering ground 3 deep on the outside of his stablemate Late Show. Lack of Reason also covering a lot of extra territory, and there goes a bit like her. One of the New Zealanders made a lightning move around the outside, headed him off and raced to the lead now. A bit like a shot to the front, coming to the 800 mark by a length and a half to the Vagrant. In 3rd place, Handy Proverb. Followed closely by Tristram Rose, Dolcheza, and then Tristark and Late Show, followed by Lack of Reason, Our Sophia. Further back in the field came Rant and Rave, and then Dwanet's Girl, Playful Princess, Bone Crusher. A mile back, Samazan, followed by Astralin and Fox Seal as last as they near the corner. Coming around the bend at the 450 mark, and Tristark had raced to the lead. Tristark leads the Tancred Stakes fields around the bend and straightened up in front of A Bit Like a, followed by the Vagrant, and then Dolcheza, Handy Proverb behind them under pressure. Further back is Our Sophia and Rant and Rave down the extreme outside at the 200 mark, and A Bit Like her again beat off Tristark. A Bit Like her got clear of Tristark. The filly Dolcheza trying hard to get to them. Rant and Rave, a look at Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher down the outside is coming home right over the top of them. Rant and Rave and Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher won the Tancred. What a performance. Bone Crusher beat Rant and Rave with A Bit Like a third. Close up Tristark, Dolcheza and Dwanet's Girl. Handy Proverb disappointing, followed by Our Sophia. Further back is Samasan, a gap then to Astralin, Playful Princess, Late Show, The Vagrant, Fox Seal, Lack of Reason, and Tristram Rose, last to finish in the Bowater Scott Tancred Stakes for 86. Wow, what a run, Bone Crusher. What a run. He's come with a rattling run. Over the last 100 metres, after being in front of no more than about 2 horses at the 800, he stood them up what looked to be an impossible start, and this 3-year-old by the former Australian horse Pagasa has put in a far-lap run right down the middle of the track, ridden by GM Stewart, who has a rather exuberant whip action. Bone Crusher absolutely swamped Rant and Rave and A Bit Like her, and has scored one of the best wins we've seen in a long, long time. Is this the Bone Crusher we saw in Sydney as a 2-year-old, when his form was very, very disappointing? He went home to New Zealand and has made amazing improvement. One man who can't get over the improvement is jockey Ron Quinton, who rode Bone Crusher one day in a 2-year-old race at Randwick and thought he was a very ordinary horse. Boy, he's more than ordinary now. Bone Crusher, Rant and Rave, so the 3-year-olds have quinelled the Tancred Stakes. Bone Crusher beating Rant and Rave, A Bit Like a third, and the Bonnie mare Tristark has finished right behind the place getters. OK, we're going back down to the mounting enclosure now. Ray Hadley's going to talk to the trainer of Bone Crusher.
Frank Ritchie's the man in question. Congratulations to you. You said you were very surprised. You must be astounded. That was a phenomenal performance.
Look, it's unbelievable to me. The horse has only the last 24 hours really come back to me. I haven't been happy with him largely all week. And at the turn, I thought he'd dropped out purely because he'd had enough. You know, he appeared to me at that stage as if things were going wrong. Gary obviously had something else in mind, and to win like that even surpassed my opinion of him, and of course I love him.
There have been rumours all week about the horse not quite being right. They were right, were they, the rumours?
Truly, they were absolutely correct. The horse had only done moderately. You know, he'd never done badly, but only moderately, and to win these races takes a good performance. And only in the last 24 hours I was becoming more confident. But even I wouldn't have believed in my wildest dreams he could have won like that.
Well, he's won 9 from 18. He can carry that champion tag with that win today.
Well, I'm a harsh critic of champions, but even I'll say so yes now.
Congratulations to you, Frank.
Thank you very much.
John Tapp, Frank Ritchie, the trainer of Bone Crusher, one of the best Kiwis we've seen to come across the Tasman for quite a long time. I think you'd agree.
I'll say Bone Crusher on the New South Wales TAB, $1.75 and a very good place dividend of $1.25. Ian, old Bone Crusher has come with a rattling run.
Sure has, Tappy. I'm just wondering, Tappy, how painful was that for you to call Bone Crusher across the line there?
I felt it every inch of the way.
Well, we hope that leg's better soon, mate. In a moment, we'll come back with surfing.